Alright, what's good everybody? It's your boy Keenan. Welcome to today's vlog. Major upsets that occurred this past weekend for week 12 of the college football season. We have a new number 1 seed team. Number 1 and number 2 fell short in their conference games this week. Starting with the Baylor Bears facing the number 1 ranked team in the nation, Kansas State. Baylor Bears ended up beating them 52-24 due to their great efforts on the defensive side. Good job. I have to give kudos to that defense. They put a lot of pressure on quarterback Colin Klein, who threw a couple of interceptions in this matchup. Plus, they ran the football very effectively with Lachey Seastrong and company running the football. They had a great scheme on the defensive side, and offensively, they were too much on that ground attack over K-State, who is known for running the football more than passing the football. Great game for the Baylor Bears. And number 2, Oregon fell to number 13 ranked team in the nation, Stanford Cardinals, 17-14 in overtime. Great job by that Stanford Cardinals defense, and I really told everybody, I told you guys a lot about this Oregon team. They're fantastic, they're very explosive, but like I said, if they get smacked in the mouth, they lose focus and do not stick to their game plan. That's why they lost in this one. They got smacked in the mouth on the defensive side, and they changed their offensive schemes and their offensive plays because they thought that defense was going to overwhelm them. I think they should have stuck with their game plan, play that offense very quickly, run the plays after plays quickly as possible to get that defense off guard. But they ended up taking their time, especially in that second half, in order to switch things up on that to play that defense. And I really think they should have not changed their game plan and had a good high up tempo offense. And I really think if they had stuck with that game plan, they would have won this matchup. Now, the new number 1 seed team is Notre Dame, who is still undefeated within all the top teams. This is a great team overall. They had a big win against Wake Forest, 38-0. Now all they have to do is beat USC in their final matchup, and they are in the national championship. I wish them the best of luck, but I think this could be another upset alert in this week's. But I'll let you guys know in that preview for this week's preview. This is going to be a great game to watch. Now I'm going to shift things over to the MAC conference. We had a couple of MAC division games that could help determine who will play for the MAC championship. Starting with the Western Division, Toledo ended up playing Northern Illinois, in which the Huskies won 31-24. That was a great game. Quarterback Jordan Lynch has led this team to a second consecutive MAC championship. Now for the Eastern Division, Kent State ended up playing at Bowling Green. Kent State had a great matchup. They ended up winning their game due to the running back Dre Archer, 241 yards rushing and 2 scores, including a 79-yarder that made the top 10 for ESPN top plays. He was a great player overall. He's definitely their top offensive weapon. This is going to be a big-time threat for the Huskies in that MAC championship. So Kansas State is going to be representing the East, while Northern Illinois is going to be representing the West of that MAC championship. That's going to be a great game to watch. That's going to be on November 30th, in which I will give you a preview of that matchup. Now I have a couple other key games I mentioned earlier last week. On Wednesday, UNC played at Virginia. They won 37-13, staying alive in that Coastal Division. Now they could use Duke, Georgia Tech to lose to Duke, but which they ended up not losing. They ended up beating Duke 42-24, but UNC still got the higher ranking because they have a better overall record. They can still make it to the ACC championship. Now who they're going to be waiting? The Atlantic Division winner is Florida State. They ended up outblasting Maryland 41-14. They are going to be representing the Atlantic Division, outbidding Clemson, even though they both have one loss in ACC play, but Florida State had to tiebreaker because they beat Clemson earlier in the season. Now speaking of the Tigers, they ended up avenging last season's loss to NC State 64-48. Now, if they win this week against South Carolina, their arch rival, they will get that automatic bid, that at-large bid for the BCS games to see but we will see. They still have a couple that big game left, and they're still going to be battling things out, even with Oregon and Kansas State. If Kansas State beats my Texas Longhorns this upcoming week, they will be getting an at-large bid. Now For Oregon, they still have to worry about making it to the Pac-12 Championship. They need to beat Oregon State next week in order to make it to the Pac-12 Championship. If they lose, Stanford will represent the North and play UCLA for the Pac-12 Championship, and I just ruined that moment. UCLA peeled off a big win at the Rose Bowl, snapped a 6-game losing streak to their rival USC 38-28. This USC team was the biggest disappointment to me in college football. They have so much talent all around them. Curtis McNeil rushed for 121 yards, but Matt Barkley had a bad game and he suffered a concussion, so he's not going to be able to play against Notre Dame. That could be a big advantage for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They do not have to worry about star quarterback Matt Barkley in this one because he had a concussion, a small minor concussion, but a shoulder injury, so he's going to be out for this matchup, and they have a lot of inexperience behind him at quarterback, and this is going to be a big ups for Notre Dame. They can take advantage of that matchup, but I'll keep you guys posted this week for my preview. Now, I have a couple other games that I mentioned. There was another major upset to me in the WAC conference between Utah State and then number 20 Louisiana Tech. The Aggies beat the Bulldogs 48-41. Why? Because they finally caused Colby Cameron, the quarterback for the Bulldogs, to commit turnovers. He finally threw his first interceptions. Not just one, but 2 interceptions in this matchup, and that is the reason why the Bulldogs lost, because of the turnovers that the Aggies forced the Bulldogs to commit. I really had a lot of high hopes for this Bulldog team. Like I said before in my last week, I thought this was a BCS team had they not lose to Texas A&M. This is still a good Bulldog team overall. They will make it to a bowl game. Now, they can still get a share of the WAC championship if they win this upcoming week. Now for Utah State, if they win next week, they will win the outright WAC championship. They need the Bulldogs need the Utah State to lose this week, and they need to win their matchup, and that's going to be key this upcoming week. But I'll keep you guys posted on both those 2 matches. But I think Utah State is going to win this championship outright. That was a great matchup. Couple of other scores we need to talk about. Oklahoma State beat at West Virginia 50-49 due to a last-second upset, comeback in the final seconds for OU. They pulled off the 1-point victory. Another disappointing season for West Virginia. They have a high explosive offense, but they have no help on the defensive side, and that is the difference maker of this team. Another game we need to talk about, an overtime thriller between Ohio State at Wisconsin. Ohio State won 21-14. Now, I have to give kudos to Braxton Miller. I think he deserves a nod to get to New York City to be a final candidate for the Heisman Trophy. He's having a great season running and passing the football in college football overall. Now, overall this week, I went 12-4. 75%. I think I had a good week overall. Wish things a little bit better. But number 1 and number 2 losing in that matchup, and that's why I kind of dropped 25%. But that was still a good week overall. Now I'm going to give you some latest news in college football. The University of Maryland, they have finally committed and they decided to transfer to the Big Ten Conference. Now, me personally, I think this is going to be a bad move going from the ACC to the Midwest, and it's just not going to look right geographically. But a lot of these teams are actually shifting gears and going to different conferences, even though they do not fit well geographically. It doesn't really matter. It's all about the money for these schools. That's my personal opinion. I think this is a bad move for Maryland, but they're going to have to give up $50 million to the ACC for moving, even though them and Florida State disagreed on that, on having that as a contract agreement. They still have to pay off $50 million in that deal. Now, because of this, Rutgers is now going to go to the Big Ten Conference as well. That announcement will come tomorrow, and I'll keep you guys posted that, and I will let you guys know tomorrow. But they will definitely sign that deal and go over to the Big Ten Conference. Now, speaking of Rutgers, I forgot to mention that game. They beat Cincinnati 10-3. They are still undefeated for Big East play, and they have 2 games left against UConn and Louisville. Those are going to be a couple of key matches, but I think this is going to be a couple of tough games for them, particularly against Louisville, to see who will win the Big East Championship. Rutgers definitely could get that Big East Championship and make it to a BCS bowl game. Now, both Rutgers and Maryland's going to be traveling to the Big Ten Conference, and I really believe that a lot of schools are going to start doing the same thing, shifting conferences. I really do not like this. This is just a bad decision, and I really think conferences should be within different geographical regions, but obviously nobody really cares. It's about the money, but I really don't like this move, but they're going to do whatever they want to do anyway. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys is on Wednesday to give you a preview of Week 13 of the college football season. Thank you for watching today's vlog from Franchise Sports Talk. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.